want to thank you for joining us again, and it's been great having so many people visiting us on the Pilates Hour. And today is a very appropriate topic, and with me I have two special guests from our Polestar family. I have Juan Nieto, who is our licensee for Spain. He is the CEO of Renity, and always very should we say avant-garde with the latest technologies and ways that we can pivot quickly and participate in the virtual and digital world. I also have Nichole Anderson with me, who is the director of Polestar USA and also has been lead for the last 2 years working on our online education platform. So I've invited both of them here. And so the idea here is whether you are a Pilates teacher and wondering how to pivot in this digital time, where we're in isolation, and how do we make our business work? That's going to be the discussion. What are some of the tools out there that we can use? And we also want to be able to discuss the process of education and how do we enhance our education? How do we go about mentoring? How do we provide education in a time like this and make it so that it's it can still be a meaningful business? And I was on a discussion today that was talking about, they were interviewing me, asking me if I felt that there was a future for our business with the changes that were happening, and if this isolation was to continue periodically, was there a future? And the person interviewing me had a little bit of a sad, negative tone, because he's sort of looking at the business as the way we knew it. And so hopefully today we look at it with a very positive look at the way we move forward. It's going to be a little different. And I wanted to share a little story that I had happened to me just the other day, and then I want to introduce Juan and Nichole and let them talk to you a little bit and share some videos and discussion and things that they prepared for us today. I've been myself sort of wondering this whole concept of, as a physical therapist, is telehealth, and thinking like, here I am, a manual physical therapist, I'm a movement-based physical therapist, I'm a Pilates teacher, and all of my skill set, at least I thought all of my skill set, was about my hands. And I had a patient call me that has been dealing with severe sciatica, had to go to the hospital, had to go to emergency, still no relief. And I was able to take her through a session and to create a couple positions and movements that were able to give her relief from the pain that she hadn't been able to get from medication or from the doctors or from the hospital or from rest. And it was there that I realized that, we actually have a lot of value, and there's a lot of things that we can do to help our patients. And she said she would gladly pay me for that session more than she paid for the doctors or anybody else that did not help her. And that's where I sort of thought, we need to pivot, and we need to realize that a lot of the information we have is what we see and how we think and how we interpret that. So what I'd like to do now is turn some time over to Juan, and Juan, just tell us a little bit about, what you've been doing lately as far as, turning your practice to a virtual practice while you're in isolation in Spain.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you, Nichole. Thank you, everyone, for attending the webinar. Yeah, we've been in total lockdown for the last 4 weeks, and there's another 4 coming. But I think that the situation is really tough. It's complicated, but we definitely have the opportunity to rethink or reorganize the way we manage our students and our clients and our patients. And that is something that has been very interesting for me for the last 5-6 years, trying to find ways to provide quality services for 1 billion people in the world. It's how can we impact a lot of people who are not economically privileged, but they will have the right to have proper information, education, coaching, and exercise through technology and through services that we can deliver for them. So I think I always have been looking for ways of encouraging autonomy and not dependency in my students, and especially in my patients. So I think maybe some teachers now are feeling a little fearful about, like you said before, is am I losing my job? Have I lost all my value? But I think it's quite the opposite. Now their clients will realize that they can be okay without the need of your private babysitting style of taking care of them, but they can be okay, and they need to move, and they need to move by themselves, and they don't need you that much as they think. So I think that's a good way. That's a good way of delivering therapy and movement.
And
Yeah,
one of our goals, I mean, we always talk about this, right, is to create independence in them. And if you even go back into Joseph Pilates thing, the whole reason why he even developed the equipment was so that people could do the mat work at home. It wasn't doing the contrology work every day with a teacher. It was doing the contrology work every day, and that you would
yeah,
do at home.
absolutely. So I think now they are forced to do it. So there's no excuse. If they can pay, they prefer to pay you, and you do it for them, or you help them to do it. But now they have to do it by themselves, following your instructions, your video. So now there's a proof that they can do it. And like you said, that is, it's a very interesting thought. Is it's probably going to happen more often. So this is something that it will probably happen not every 100 years, but every 5 or 10 years. I don't know, but it's the impression of everyone, I guess. So in the way of my thinking, my process of thinking about how can I help people, first you need to understand who are your personas, who are the people out there, what they need, and not every student is the same. So I have like 4 categories that I feel people can get organized into. So some people need a coach. So a coach is someone who usually focus on specific issues or goals. So the value here is that we create programs, but the student is autonomous. So they have to do their own job. So we are helping them to help themselves, and they have to be autonomous. So usually very motivated students grow very much in this framework. So if you have a student that is motivated, that they have an issue and they have a goal and they are focused and driven into getting it, this framework of coaching is fantastic. So for us as a coach, in this case, what I think the key is exercise selection. So what do we ask them to do, and the dosage. So we really need to understand how to create progressive overload. So that's the key. But they have to do it by themselves, and they will do it by themselves. So it requires, of course, proper feedback and fluent communication, but you don't really need to be face-to-face for that. You can use all these tools that we have, video meetings or WhatsApp or texting or whatever, because this really works. So now we're talking about people like runners or injured people. For me, physical therapy falls into this category. And like you said, I think for me, I've been treating patients in telehealth for the last 3 years. So I have patients that I've never met in person. And it's because, like you said, my focus in physical therapy is in education and exercise prescription. So I'm more like a coach. So we really need to understand what is not working for them and how to provide the true scientific-based education that they understand why that hurts. What do they need to do in order to stop flaring up and get some relief and desensitization? So you as a physical therapist needs to be ready to do that. So like you said, if you are completely dependent in what you do instead of what you know, you really need to pivot very fast. It's like you realized today,
That's
you
right.
already was doing it, but you were still feeling my hands are my value. No, your brain is your value. It's what you know, and you make money for what you know, not for what you do. What you do can do many people, but not what you know. Brent Anderson is only one. So I think that is important for physical therapists and coaches to really understand that the value here is in the knowledge. It's not just in the content. Okay. So in order to do that, and in a very specific framework that I was running, we created running running team. So let me please show you a little bit of what we did. So this is how a plan looks like. So this is a runner. He has a baseline of 17 minutes. So I have prepared a 65% of the baseline just to increase their workload. So I have the running regime, the exercise they're doing. So like this, so I can really set the exercise that I want to do, the reps, the series, how much do they hold, how much do they rest. They can see the videos and they receive this every day. And what is important here, they have their own notes. But what is important here is that every day the load is different, the exercises are different in the days they are not running. So I can go to plyometric exercises. So I can really do a lot of cool stuff if my gray matter is working. So, but they need to understand, okay, this is my plan. This is what my coach is giving me to recover, to come back to running, to recover from my low back pain. But this is into the coaching situation. Of course, we complement this with one-on-one calls and WhatsApp and so on. But for us, what's very important to be able to create a programming that is very flexible and very easy to follow. So they just see the exercise, how much do they need to do, the running program that they have to do, and how long, and next day, what's next. So this is in the coach environment.
Juan, this is fantastic. And I think that the two words that come out, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, is the idea of, assessment and prescription and follow-up, right? And so it's the idea is knowing what they need and then prescribing it to them and then having some kind of plan to follow up. And I think if we stick to those three elements that you just showed us so eloquently, is that we can assess. I mean, that's what makes us unique in Polestar, is that we spend so much time with assessment of just trying to understand, this is where you are, this is where you want to go. How do we bridge that gap? You wanna run a 10K? Okay, right now you're walking. This is how we get there. So I think that's really crucial. And I don't think we use that. I think Runity has forced us to understand that. I think that was something that became very evident to us inside of Polestar, and you've now, or inside of Runity, you've now taken it a step further, and you've been doing it for a while. So it's not the coronavirus that's gotten you there, but you've been testing the waters with this idea of assessment, prescription, and follow-up, and using virtual tools. So maybe talk a little bit about what you're doing now within the Pilates world with your studio of clients.
Yeah. So the other category that I find our student is that some people need a trainer. And a trainer is different than a coach. So a trainer delivers more generic information or methodologies of a technique or a training method or a way of doing exercise. So it could be Pilates, could be CrossFit, could be martial arts or dance. So you go and you have a topic, you have content. And then what you do is you create your classes, you teach your classes, your people follow in a more relaxed way. They are not as involved as the other as the other people who are receiving coaching. And for me, there's two things. Of course, can be pre-recorded. That is fine. But I think that what I have discovered is the power of live classes. This is the new thing for me in the coronavirus situation the analogy for me is like going to the movies or watching Netflix. When you watch Netflix, you have control. You can stop, make popcorn on the microwave, and then come back, stop. You have more control of the situation, so you are not completely surrendered into the event. So you go to the movies, you bought your ticket, you are silent in your seat, and then you have to wait until the movie's finished in silence, and that's it. So that focus, I think, is really interesting for the people to say, okay, now I'm going to my live event. It has a time, it has a schedule, so I need to commit to that. So I think that is very important in order to create habits. So the people join the class and go to the link and set their computers, so that habit prepares them to comply with their classes. But of course, some other people are more motivated and they do the pre-recorded. So I wanted to share with you this analogy about the movies and Netflix, because I think it's powerful, this idea of live classes. So what you're going to find here is less motivated people with more general goals, and they will benefit from this framework. This framework works okay. So the important thing here, and believe me, we are not as important. It's just to have them a good time, that they're feeling good, that they are working out, and they will receive content. That's it. It's just a class. They are having fun. They're moving. They're sweating. They are discovering new things, and that's it. It's about content. It's not about the solving an issue. Yeah, sorry, Brent.
Yeah. No, this is great. And I think that, we've often made comments about what kind of group teacher are you? And all group teaching is valid. I think, it's like you and I have been asked to teach groups of 200, 300 people at a time. I can't give personal coaching in a group of 300 people that don't even speak my language. It's like I'm basically demonstrating or cueing a class and sort of reading the whole group, if I even have that chance. But a lot of times we don't even have that ability.
I was present when you were teaching the Guinness World Record 1,000 people Pilates class in Madrid. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was
I was
fun.
there. I witnessed that. So yeah, you can teach 1,000 Spaniards Pilates class. So yeah, that's something you can do. So for me here in this kind of classes, live classes or pre-recorded classes, that what we are sharing is just content, like more easy working out. It's more like about charisma and authenticity. So it's not about how much you select your exercise, how good you select your exercise, or your theoretical knowledge. For the purpose of keep the people happy, moving, and just please don't cause any problem. Follow the contraindication rules. That's it. Don't break anyone, but make them have a good time. That's the goal. And again, we're not as important. We just provide an experience of movement, which is great. It's a lot.
So you have an experience of that, right? You have
yes, I
you've been
can
doing
show
some
you.
cool things using YouTube Live and Zoom and BWE.
I've seen so many people are doing like Zoom classes, and again, falling back in what, in my opinion, sorry if I find controversial, I really say this with all my love. Looking at people creating Zoom classes, like reduced Zoom classes, like special private Zoom classes for 4 or 3 people. Come on, we are teaching through a screen, so you don't really care. Like you said, you're teaching 1,000 people or 3. It's not about correcting them. They are okay. They have the opportunity to move by themselves and be aware of what they need to do. So what I'm doing is streaming classes without any 2-directional video. So let me show you. Show you my screen again.
While you're doing that, Nichole, be thinking of any comments you might have along the lines of, what Juan's talking about too. So just in your own experience in movement and taking classes and some of the virtual stuff.
Yeah, so for instance, this is the class last Monday. I have 42 people registered in my software in BWE. So all these people joined to the class and they have an experience of a live streaming class that is now recorded on YouTube, and they can come back. So this is what they really need to do. A monkey on screen doing movements and encouraging them, giving good instruction, and that's it. And they are doing what they can at home. So my choice here for live classes and group classes is just live streaming. Make it easy. Don't let, again, the opportunity to put the video on. I'm doing right. Do I need my teacher? Come on, you're working out. You should be able to do it by yourself. So at least that's my call on this. And one of the things that we've been working very fast is in creating these groups into the system. So our clients, they just go to our scheduler and they just click to their classes, both if it's privates on Zoom or streaming or whatever it is. They just go to one platform. They don't need to sign up everywhere. And people love that. So that keep us keeping our revenues, because they have the sense that they are doing the same. They are going to the same software to book their classes, and they just see their teachers, their usual teachers on screen. So my call for this is streaming classes instead of video meetings. But then some people need what I call a butler. A butler is the same as above, but in private or semi-private setting. It's for me, it's just for people who really need or wants attention, or maybe they have fear to move, or they are shy, they lack of confidence, or some people that they just want to spend more money because they differentiate from the other people, and that's completely true. So sometimes people want a butler, but what I want us as a community to wonder to ourselves is, are we promoting this dependency? Are we really encouraging the people to select the private, semi-private work, even online now? Are we losing an opportunity to say, okay, let's touch 1,000 lives instead of 10? Privilege, you know? I think we have the opportunity to charge very little, but with a lot of volume. But if your case and your student wants or need a butler, of course, video meetings with two-directional video like Zoom or BWI Live, what we're doing, it's helpful. Of course, it's helpful. My last category is that some people need a mentor, and a mentor is someone who creates a professional, educational, but also personal relationship with the mentee, and is aiming to develop certain skills into the mentee. So the focus is growth, personal growth, and of course, education. So
Hey,
at
Juan,
this point, it's not, yeah?
before you go there, I got a couple questions on your last comments, and then we'll go into
Okay.
mentoring, and that will lead into Nichole as well. But
Yes.
Lisa asked what software Juan is using. So if you want to just answer that real quick, because I know it's new to a lot of
Yeah.
people that haven't seen it in the United States yet, but it's here now.
Yeah. So one of the projects I've been involved in the last couple of years, and Brent as well, is in developing a software for student management that is very easy to do, cheap, that works, that is very light, and that is BWI. That is what you're seeing at this point. Now my schedule is quite empty because there's not too many classes. But what we have done very quick in one week is to add the functionality to add one-on-one or Zoom sessions into the system, or to create a streaming very quick. So let me show you one video. So this is how you create a class. So it's literally that easy to create a class. It's like 1 minute, and you create a streaming, or you create a bi-directional video class with BWI. So it's something we are really proud of what we're doing, because I think we're helping a lot of students that they were struggling with the situation of how to manage their studio in a affordable and easy way. So now it's happening. We are growing quite a lot. And this is the last thing we did, and something that is very useful at this time. We developed in 1 week, thinking about the studio owners and the teachers. And the good thing, we're giving this free to everyone who wants to join until they open their studio, which is amazing.
So Juan, let's make sure we get the link in here for them to get a free trial of BWI at the end of this. So we'll make
I would
sure
love
that
to.
we'll make sure you have that. And again, I know BWI has, I talked to Diego, the owner of BWI, and he said that because of the crisis that he's willing to give it to free for everybody, and you wouldn't pay until you actually open your studio back up. So I know that there's some cool things going on there, and they're less expensive, I know, than all the other management softwares out there. I got a couple other comments in here, and I just want to read them out before we go on to mentorship. Isabel said, I find students also sharing their camera gives them this accountability and this group class community feeling. It's also good for teachers to get feedback as to how people are moving and see the level of who's joining the class, more like in a true class setup. Anybody?
Yeah. You know,
take
it
that
is
comment?
true. And you know what we're doing is when we go to class, and you are responsible of being at that class if you want. So, but what we're doing is on Friday. So every Friday we do like a party class. So we have 5 teachers and we have like 100 students with their cameras, and then we see each other, and then we do like a playful kind of thing, like a party class. So it's the way we're using it. It's just, yeah, you're there, and then people comment if they're doing. I know because of the views when they watch a recorded video or when they attended live. I have all the metrics, but again, it's their call, it's their decision. We are not babysitting people. We're just their trainers, their coaches, and that's it. They need to take responsibility.
Yeah, there was a comment from Alex. He said, so Juan, you suggest with group classes, teach general instruction, no correction. With privates, would you cue individually or give corrections? I think it goes back to the idea of whether you are doing the training or whether you are coaching or whether you are butlering to your client. And I want to make this clear, all of them are valid. I think what we're looking at
Absolutely.
is, what's your style, and hopefully giving you some options. Like I taught a class the other day to about 10, 12 people on Zoom. And, it was a class of people that have, perceived special needs, that they need to have attention. And I did more correction in that class versus, doing something that was just a lead class like I've done, a million times, or a pre-recorded class like I've done on, and Juan, you've done as well on Pilates Anytime. So, we get comments all the time on Pilates Anytime of people who've had major significant outcomes and breakthroughs in their movement experience by watching a pre-recorded video of us teaching and demonstrating. So I think it's what feels comfortable to you. Sarah said, our insurers in the UK are asking for us to be able to see the client to be covered. That's interesting. I think that, you obviously got to comply with your government. And the good thing is that we have those options. And I think there's a difference between what you're doing as a broadcast. I don't know if you guys want to say anything else about broadcast versus actually having a session that you are showing, for example, the difference, as Juan said, maybe people are paying $5 or €5 for a broadcasted class and paying 35 euros or dollars for a virtual class through Zoom where you're interacting on it. So any comment on that? I got about 4 more comments that I want to get to before we get to mentors. We good?
Yeah.
Roxana said, would you be able to share how much you charge estimate for those large groups? That'd be a question for you, Juan, because I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I think the way I work for a lot of time is subscription based. So I barely have drop-ins, or I barely have series of classes. So what we aiming to do is to create a community of people that are really committed to what we do. So they are members of our studio. So I don't know. What we're charging is now in this quarantine for this setting, that they receive 2 live classes a day. They have their special class on Friday. Then also we do a Q&A, like a tutorial with them on Wednesday. So for all these things that you said, I have this problem with this exercise, I have this pain in the wrist. Then we sit together in a Zoom, and then we do a question and answer. Is the way we are doing it. So they have all this, and they pay like 60 euros a month during this month of April. So we're not charging.
Which is different. That's different than their normal subscription rate, right? So you lowered their subscription rate during the crisis.
Yeah, it's almost half. Yeah,
okay.
It's almost half.
Yeah.
But what we have realized is then, one, people loving math more than ever. People that they just did reformer, now they are expanding their movement, vocabulary, their territory, their map. Now is huge. Now they can go somewhere else. And 2, people are really working out. Like, I feel stronger than ever, because now I have to do your more challenging classes, and I wanted to do because they are really fun to do, and I don't want to miss. And they telling me, hey, I feel my hip is getting better. I feel my stability is working much better. So really, really positive outcome out there, and people getting surprised. I have no pain. I'm doing more exercise than ever. I'm doing a class every day. I've never did more than twice a week. So So it's been a great experience for us. People are
Thank
really
you.
happy.
Thank you. I have a number of other comments, but I want to move on now to the mentorship and get Nichole as well talking about sort of virtual education at the higher level for us. So Juan, why don't you
Yeah.
finish up with
So
the mentorship?
the only thing I want to share is that some people, they come to us and they fall in love with movement, and they want a mentor. They really want to dig deep into the process, and they want to create a different layer of understanding. And sometimes because they want to become professional, sometimes because they just want to explore what they love. So it's motivation here is not good enough. It's passionate students what you need. So if you have passionate students, then they are looking for a mentor. So this is the tools that we have. So for the studio, let me show you just a little thing that we created in a couple of weeks. So we created this very simple page, and what we're doing here is doing tutorials that the focus is not on the exercise, is on why we're doing this exercise. What are the characteristics? Where this exercise is going to take you? So it's more about talking and explaining and everything. So maybe I'm talking 10 minutes about how to develop a deep squat, how to create the correct adaptations, and how to grow into this pattern. So we are creating like little series of chapters with tutorials. So the students can follow because they are looking for understanding. If you go to the next level, what is amazing is what Nichole is doing with the LMS, with the PGP to support students, which is amazing. So I think I'm gonna pass the torch to Nichole, and because
Great.
I really want to know what can you do with students.
Juan, that was
Yeah,
awesome, by the way.
oh,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, this has kind of been a really long evolution of moving from everything being in person for all of our courses to slowly moving into a hybrid course. A number of years ago, we filmed a number of our lectures so that the students could watch them online at their leisure, especially our core prerequisite, which is kind of a dense course. I remember taking it for the first time, our Principles of Movement course in person, and leaving thinking, I have no idea what I just learned. I don't know if I will remember any of this once I leave, and my notes are not sufficient. And this is clearly for physical therapists and not for me. And as soon as we moved it onto the online setting, so now it's a fully online course, students have access to reiterate the material over and over again because it says something different 1 month into the course and 10 months into the course and 2 years after you've been teaching. And we found that there's so much value of having that option to watch over and over again. And so we kind of took that idea and then moved that into our lectures. We used to do a lot of lectures in our courses, and we got them all filmed. Sherry and Shelley put a lot of work into filming our labs and case studies. So again, students have this opportunity to watch all of this material before they come to their in-person session, which allows them to know what their questions are when they arrive. So when they're actually there in person, they kind of have an idea of what the direction they want to go with their questions, with their intention for the course. When you're actually there with your educator, sometimes I'm sure you've all been in this situation where you're learning something and you're just trying to soak it in so much, you don't even know what question to ask. And you lose that opportunity to ask the questions and feel certain things in your body in that in-person setting that you would otherwise not have the time to do if you were spending all that time lecturing. So we've already been on this path, and we recently switched to a new platform because we wanted to have more capabilities. We wanted to be able to grade homework online and to have students submit video assignments, just to add more value in these spaces between our courses. For those of you who aren't Polestar trained, we separate our modules by 1 month. So you learn, you have a month to integrate that. And it's kind of this like hang time where, okay, am I doing something right? How am I gonna, communicate with my teacher in an easy way to submit something to know that I'm on the right track? And that's this gap that the platform really fills, our new online platform. And so it was a really easy jump to think, okay, now we really can't meet in person. How are we going to support all of our students who are currently in courses? They may not have, many don't have access to equipment, and they still want to continue their learning in some way. So what we've been working on, and it's still in progress, is kind of problem solving. What parts of the course could we also put online? Right now we do all of our teaching demonstrations in person in the course, and that's a time where students are essentially sitting down and observing. You know, a great benefit to doing it in person is that we can pull students from the audience and you get to watch us teaching with a number of different people who have a number of different backgrounds and stories in their bodies. But there's a lot of value that could be had by watching someone do all of the teaching demonstrations virtually. It gives you a chance to watch them multiple times, write down questions you have, and then through what we've been trying to do is virtual Zoom meetings, after they've gotten that material, is to then know what questions they want to ask and really focus on concepts. And I think that concepts are really the key here. To me, everything is choreography essentially, right? You can do all kinds of shapes with your body. You can do them with your wall, you can do them with your chair, you can do them with the reformer, you can do them with you know, the trapeze table. So one thing I really enjoyed is I haven't led a virtual course yet. I've been kind of working on helping everyone else lead theirs. And I've been kind of popping in and observing. And one really great thing I observed watching Shelly teach a Zoom session, you know, they're going into some of this advanced work like gymnast and tendon stretch on the reformer, which if you're unfamiliar with that, that's fine. But it's a very specific body shape. And she was having the students work on finding this shape using something they had in their house, like a chair, to be able to have their hands on. And there is so much value that can be gained from understanding this position, because you're going to see that same position inverted somewhere else and maybe upside down over here, but all of the concepts will remain the same. So that by the time we get to meet in person again, it's really just a matter of them creatively thinking of how they can manipulate the equipment to get a different outcome of the movement. So you think, okay, I'm struggling to make this shape, and what could I do to make it easier? Oh, maybe if something was pushing my feet in towards me, that would help give me that feedback. Okay, I can use the reformer to do that. I'm going to put lots of springs on, see if that helps. And it kind of opens up this next level of creative thinking that I think we haven't even tapped into yet. And so I'm really excited to get all of our teaching demonstrations filmed so that when we get into the course, we can get even deeper into these juicy concepts, and we're not spending so much time on, well, I like to use a red spring because it might help this, and maybe I'd use a blue spring for this, and you know, this is the outcome I'm expecting. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, Shelly was teaching the first one, and bless her heart, she was the one that sort of got baptized by fire on this and had multiple classes that she was teaching at the higher level, you know, what we'd call our, you know, module 5 and module 6. And what I was impressed with is the idea of, like, take something like a, you know, long spine on the reformer, where you'd have your feet in the straps and the straps be helping you. You're basically in a jackknife position, which is a mat exercise. So the idea is, like, if you understand getting into a mat exercise of the jackknife, and you understand that, well, what would the springs do for you here? I felt like they learned so much more by understanding, like, wow, you know, I almost can do this, but I need like maybe a blue spring or something to give me just enough assistance for me to figure this pattern out. Or this is where I didn't have mobility that we take for granted using the equipment so often, that we lose sight of that. And I think that was also another one of those gestalts that went off in my head, thinking like, wow, this is a powerful learning opportunity that that we're creating.
Definitely. And I'm seeing some comments here just about the Alex saying that the addition of the video to preview, review, and return after an experience is really helpful. And it's this idea of having multiple different ways to learn. And something we're working on is organizing, where students can go into breakout groups, is something that our platform allows, and they can practice teaching and be able to watch this in the future. They could watch each other teach, make comments, watch themselves teach, and then come back maybe with a little extra knowledge or understanding of what they can improve on or what went really well. Juan?
Yeah, no, I want to share that I'm just experiencing the same process here because I'm teaching principles online in a course that we were having in 2 weeks, and because we know that we're going to be locked down, and we get the group. It was a big group, and we offered them to do it through Zoom. So it's the second week. We are going, like 1 hour, 90-minute sessions, really relaxed, 3 p.m., cup of coffee. We all are very good friends, talking a little bit about breathing, doing some little stuff, having nice discussion. Next day, axial elongation, part 2, part 3. I'm having all the time in the world. I'm relaxed, I'm rested. They have the videos to review. They have questions the next day. It's the best principles course that I've done in my life, and this group is going to be the best teachers I'm going to have in my life, because really we have like a full month just to enjoy the process of learning and teaching, which is fantastic. So it's a lot of good things happening too.
Yeah, and you bring up such a good point, because and Nichole mentioned it in the very beginning of her talk, was that it's overload. I mean, there's so much content in this course, and to be able to take it chunk by chunk, little piece by little piece, to come back and see it again or hear it again, is so much more powerful. That was a big learning experience for us.
Yeah.
Nichole, do you have a sample that we could do before we run out of time? Because we do have a few more questions, but I'd like them to.
Yeah.
Anything you have to share?
This video is just a highlight of how we can use our platform on our phone. So this is what our app looks like. It gives you the option to click through, watch your videos, pause them.
Chest lift on the mat is a great preparatory exercise for all of the abdominal work in Pilates.
So you can see this right now, these are just the demonstration videos. We're working on adding the teaching videos, and as soon as we populate them in our system, they automatically show up on the app for the students. So it makes it so convenient to access the material at any time. You don't have to be sitting at your computer. You could be out at the park, sitting outside and just playing around, which I think is a really nice thing. We talk a lot, I think, just thinking about this progression into more online work, we talk a lot about spending a lot of time sitting, and I think that by having this more of the material online, like Juan was saying, you have more time to watch it. You don't have to sit down for 4 hours straight and listen. You can listen to a little bit, do some movement, go be outside, be active, tap back in later. And I feel like it enables you to actually digest the material much more than if you didn't have that opportunity to spread it out. So I just want to finish with this concept of where we are going forward. I've seen some questions about, how are we going to handle this in the future? And one of the pieces that I've noticed that we don't get to highlight as much in our courses, and I would love to have more time to work on, is actual teaching skills. So like I mentioned before, all the movements, the exercises, they're choreography, right? And if we can understand the choreography through videos, and we can understand the repertoire in that way and how to utilize the equipment, obviously you need access to equipment to really play around. But then when we're in person, we can actually have the time to work on teaching skills. And this can be done remotely pretty easily as well, by students submitting videos of themselves teaching and moving, and being able to get feedback from their peers and from their educators on the language they're using, how they're utilizing tactile cueing, how they're understanding the concept of using imagery to create change in your client, or help them understand a concept better. And something Juan's mentioned, and that I'm a real big believer in, is letting your clients have autonomy. And I think if you can explain concepts in a way that someone can understand it in their body, it enables them to have autonomy. And that's really a nuance of how you use your language when you're teaching. And being able to put more of our curriculum online allows us to spend more time helping students understand how to do this better, and how to be better support system for the people who are asking them to help them understand their own bodies better. And in the future, we are going to be doing in-person work. It's never going to be a fully online course for the comprehensive. We're working on doing it for Matt, because we can do all of the teaching work, we can do all of the video submissions. Everyone has access to a floor. The real caveat with the equipment work is that you need equipment. And so it really narrows that gap. But being able to make a mat course available online allows us to decrease the cost. It allows us to make it available to so many more people, like Juan is saying, rather than this being this high ticket item, like you need to have this kind of money before you can join this profession. It gives someone an in, very much like our immersion series, which is an even lower price point, but this in to start to understand the concepts of teaching and moving in a way that's quite affordable and accessible to someone who maybe can't travel and really has to just do this stuff remotely.
Nichole, there's a question here from Olivia, and it's just like, how are you able to learn how to cue and correct different exercises for different body types and know you're doing it correctly if we just watch, especially knowing if we are doing it right? And I want to make something clear here. When we use the word online, online just means we're using a digital platform, but the online has what we call asynchronous learning and synchronous learning. So asynchronous is when you're studying material by yourself at your own pace, self-paced asynchronous learning. Synchronous learning is when we're actually just like this, where I'm watching Nichole. I can't see you, Olivia, but if you were to come on and we were to look at each other, and I certainly could give you valuable feedback on your movement, on how you're teaching, on your cueing. If you were to take a video of yourself teaching and you uploaded it asynchronously, I could give you feedback on that, and probably a lot better feedback. And even on top of that, something I've been an advocate of for many years is this idea of observation. It makes me sick to think that my students are going out to places all around the world that people don't want them there, and they're observing in a corner being told to be quiet and they can't ask questions, when we can create really good teaching examples online that they can watch, they can critique, we can have discussion about as a group, they can talk about it amongst their own cohort and have really meaningful observation versus what we've created in the past. So I do think the idea of this online presence is really, and we've been doing this for a lot longer than we've known about coronavirus, but it really has become obvious to us of the need to be able to move into it. There are a number of questions. Nichole, did you have anything else that you wanted to touch on? I think you did a great job, and you're doing a great job. I think something new that's coming out very quickly is our online mat immersion program. The online portion of it's been done for years, but we're taking the actual practical portion of it and putting that online, and that'll be ready probably in the next month. But we're excited about that. And we're also offering, for anybody that's on this webinar and your friends, the online portion of it that's been out for a while already, we're offering that for free with 4 mat classes to anybody that just wants it. So to sort of get used to using the platform and see what that's like. Let's go through some questions. Where I left off was with Beth, and we actually have about 15 minutes or 10, 11 minutes before we got to finish up here. These go to all of us. So these are questions back when Juan was presenting more about the teaching and Nichole education. So Beth said, when you're teaching a group class online, what tips do you give your clients regarding their necks and them trying to watch their screens? Does anybody have any experience with that or want to take that question on? Great question.
Yeah, so actually very little people have mentioned in these little gatherings that I do with my students. They never mention about that. That is true that some of them, because when I'm teaching and I'm watching at the screen, I feel it like I'm twisting all the time. So I have the opportunity during my own teaching to say, hey, you maybe need to change from side to side because I'm doing push-up all the time facing this side because I want to talk to you and interact with you. So I've done like 20 push-ups with my neck rotated to the right. So I do 10 to one side, 10 to the other, and half of them without looking at the screen. But yeah, it's actually a very nice question. And what I'm doing because of my own problem solving is just changing the position through the screen.
Great.
Yeah.
Marianne says, is it user friendly? I think talking about BWE, is it user friendly for the older generation? Most of our clients are over 70.
Yeah, I have a couple of stories. There's some students that they have problems to log into the agenda, so we help them to go through their classes when we can teach one-to-one or personal classes or live classes without a screen in between. So yeah, we all know that some people they struggle with booking their own classes and cancel their own classes. It's the same process. So if they cannot do it without virus, they won't do it with the virus. But for instance, I have a 85-year-old lady that she's not following the streaming classes. She doesn't want to do Zoom classes. And I'm creating video clips that I send to her through WhatsApp. That is what she used. And I give her one video, 5 minutes of exercise every morning. And she's like, I don't know, she loves me more than no one else in the world. So there's always a way. There's always a way. If they cannot do it, you just send them a link, or you just record the video and send it through WhatsApp. It's not the technology, is to create a solution. It's not we need to use technology. It's what we want to do. This, okay, how can we do it? That's the creative thinking process.
Yeah, and just to reiterate that with Marianne, I mean, most of our population in Polestar in Miami is also, over the 60, 70-year-old, a lot of them. I have a client that's in her 90s that is doing virtual classes with her Pilates teacher successfully. So I think it again comes down to, we talk to them, we find a solution, and thank goodness technology offers us a number of solutions that, even my mother I can do FaceTime with, and we can talk and see each other, and it's the same technology, and she wants to see me and I want to see her, and technology allows us to do that. Lori said, any advice on virtual release liability when teaching with this platform? And I'll take that one. I think that we need to be responsible with that. I think if you look at sort of like what Pilates Anytime has done, to be able to have them sign a disclaimer or a release waiver that says they understand that they're taking this responsibility in their own hands. But we use the same release waiver when they come to our classes. So you might have to tweak the language just to say, in live, or also the virtual classes that you might take with slings or that you might take with your studio. So please be conscientious of that. I think that's a fantastic observation, Lori. Teresa said she's Zooming 12 to 15 people hooked up to a big screen TV and feedback. And she's like, yes, they feel seen and appreciate the feedback and accountability. With 45 people, like you're doing, I see that would be unattainable. And I think, again, Juan described it very well. You have to define what group you're going to be working with. Like if you're wanting to be able to provide feedback, and I think that's important, then you have to do a smaller group. If you're looking to be able to get people just to have fun, good class, and move and do it inexpensively, you're not going to be able to do the feedback on it. And every one of you is a different style of teacher, and we're just trying to cover a lot of different styles. So I don't think it's that one's right or one's wrong. They're just different. And I think Juan defined that really well. Erica said, what's your estimate price range for those needing the butler? Is it a packaged rate?
I'm gonna trademark that. We are.
You don't have to disclose the price, but maybe the percentage difference, or
I know 100%. When they are asking for privates, duets, semi-privates, it's the same price, because it's my same time. It's more complicated to me to do it. So it's the same price, live or through Zoom, and it's the same that I've been doing with my patients or people who I coach around the world through Runity or through Movement or whatever. Is same prices that I have for my privates in real life. So no change at all. I don't see the difference. It's exactly the same because they are paying for what I know.
Yeah, very well said. Carrie, this one might be good for Nichole. It says, how do you see education for teachers changing in the future? I was wanting to start teacher training in Miami next March, and I'm wondering what would that look like now?
Well, I can speak on where my vision for this is to move. Obviously we have a curriculum committee and we discuss all these things as a group, but I'm seeing that the in-person time will remain the same. So hopefully we're again able to get back into these in-person sessions where we can see each other for 2 days a month. But the format of the weekend will probably change. So as we have these greater resources, we'll be able to spend more time on our competencies essentially. So we do checkoffs in every module to test how you're teaching, how you're moving. And I imagine that we'd spread that time out a little more, be able to give more in-depth feedback, do more feedback loops in groups, spend more time focusing on teaching skills and really critical thinking. But the actual in-person time, I'm imagining, will remain the same. And this is only going to supplement that.
Yeah, well said. Isabel said, I totally agree, fostering critical thinking and discussion during the in-person, and also I can say it's been great to have the theory available to watch over and over again, as it takes time to understand how concepts integrate as you learn the exercise content. Love the idea of bringing the exercise curriculum online too. Thank you, Isabel. Olivia says, how are you able to learn how to cue and correct different exercises? We answered that one already.
Yeah,
I think I got that one for you, Olivia. Sheila said, I've been trying to find Polestar classes online, but not so much luck. Other disciplines, but not Polestar other than Pilates anytime. We do have a subscription, free subscription on YouTube channel. If you go to the Polestar channel, and there's lots of content that we've been putting up there for years that you can find. We have strongly encouraged collaboration with Pilates anytime. So we do quite a bit of work with them. And then if you're interested in the Pilates immersion class that I told you is free that you could take online, it has 4 classes that Shelly teaches on mat or that Christy teaches in Spanish on mat that are also very good classes. And that library will just continue to increase. We're doing I'll give you an insight. We're doing a special project around the world, and it's called Impacting the World. And we're getting teachers, senior teachers of ours and licensees like Juan and Nichole all around the world to contribute content to be able to distribute to the masses. So just a little heads up, hopefully something happen in the next month. You'll see a lot of really cool content coming on for your use. Aaron said, I'm experienced the sessions are more therapeutic to people at this time due to cabin fever and stress of working at home and homeschooling children at the same time. I can see the effects of their emotions in their body the minute they come on the screen. I find my clients are more in tune with having a higher sense of feel and express a deep appreciation to the work they so need. I agree. I was a little hesitant the first time I did the online class, and this was I was doing with Zoom with, like I was saying, the 10, 12 people. And the one that I was most worried about, she said, this is the best 60 minutes of my entire day. Thank you so much. And she doesn't give me those kind of compliments when she comes in and takes class live with me. So I was thinking that, you know, people are in so much need of this from the stress they're feeling right now, that you're right on the money. There's a question for Juan. To clarify, Juan, BWE is to set up class, book, cancel, create programs, etc. To teach. The platform you use is Zoom. Is that it? And
no,
it's not it. But go ahead.
No, so yes, you can book, cancel, create programs, everything, and then we have our own Zoom in the app in the same web. So their students they just have to use their app for the studio, and they just click and watch the class. It's very straightforward, nothing to do, but it's like Zoom. So it's the same idea of video in 2 directions or a streaming class through YouTube Live. So both capabilities, but it's not Zoom. They don't need to have the app.
Great. Kim Jabalisco, I know you're out there. Hi, Kim. She mentioned that the PMA has a free template on their website. So go to COVID resources, and I know they've been working really hard on providing resources for us as Pilates studios and Pilates teachers. I have time for one more comment that I'll read, and then we do need to wrap up. This is Vanessa. She says, I agree that postgraduate education has been inaccessible due to pricing, especially if you live in countries in isolated places. So do you see postgraduate education being offered online? I would love to do learning with Juan more regularly, for example. And the answer to that is, we're always working on building courses. So right now I've been just researching things to build a new assessment tools course online and a physiology course online. And we have a lot of people that are going to be contributing to that. Beth Kaplanek is producing a course online for hip and knee replacements. So you're going to see a plethora of Con Ed coming on and graduate work. Last comment, it says, can you do the Run-A-T course online, please? So that's a question for Juan. I was planning to attend in Auckland, but obviously that's not happening until possibly November. You do have some online content that they can do, right?
Yeah, we have a fundamentals course that is basically all the theory and all the reasoning about how we use our methodology in Runity. So there's a lot of content. You can understand how to coach a runner, how to do the assessment, both in the running analysis and the movement analysis. You have all the theory about injuries, the theory about why running this way or this other way matters. So I think it's a great course. It's not very expensive, and it can be done online. Actually, the way we settle that we establish the running team methodology is when we see live is because we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have a movement running experience, and it's about you. It's about being in the place, having all the experience to yourself, and doing all this challenging exercise. And then if you really want to understand why we're doing all these fun things, go to the fundamentals course online.
Yeah, great. We're out of time. I want to thank Juan and Nichole for taking their time today to be with us and share some of their experiences. Most importantly, I want to thank you for sharing your time and your questions and your thoughts. We hope more than anything that we bring hope to you, that you realize that there is a future for us in the Pilates teaching profession, that there is hope for us to be able to provide stimulating classes and teaching for our clientele, and also that we can make money doing it, that we can make a living. We definitely are going to pivot. We definitely are changing where we have to be creative. What I've told all of our licensees in Polestar is the most important thing is keep contact with our people. So the thing I can tell you more than anything is during this crisis is if they ever need contact from us, now is the time. They need to hear from us on a regular basis. If we sent an email letter out once a month or once a quarter, now it needs to be once a week. If you have clients that you know are not tech savvy, maybe they need to get a phone call once a week and just to check in with you and make sure that they're doing okay. And take care of our people. Make sure that we're completely compliant with the rules and the things that we've been told to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. And be responsible. We should be the examples. We should make sure that our clients are being compliant and helping them to be the healthiest that they can be. That's what we do. We coach them to be healthy. I do want to share with you real quickly all of the links that we talked about and we showed. They'll be on the post production. All of you will get it. Everybody that signed up for this will get that information to know how to get the pre-class or the software to look at different things. So you can take a look at it and feel free to call us or text us and find out if you need more information on it or have questions. Next week, I have a special guest coming on. Her name is Dalila Diaz. She's a professor of pathophysiology with me at the University of St. Augustine. And we're going to be diving into the actual science of the human immune system and how our immune system actually is trying to deal or how it suffers with the coronavirus that we're dealing with. And I'm a big believer that you get knowledge. You get as much knowledge as you can, and then you exercise wisdom. So we hope that Polestar is always your source of knowledge, and that each of us exercise wisdom with that knowledge of how we can make the world a better place. We're all about impacting the world through intelligent movement, and we appreciate your time, and we'll see you on the next Pilates Hour. Thank you again. Appreciate you. Love you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.